Connection.
Is that? Oh, is it? Okay, don't touch. Okay, is it morning? It's afternoon. Good afternoon. Firstly, thank you to Mastura and the Softec team for asking me to come over again. I really enjoy my trips over here. I do enjoy it over here. A lot of conferences aren't that great. This is a good one. I really have to say that. I recommend it. So I want to talk about the value of testing and how we can increase it. I need to be conscious that I like to walk around. Okay, so if I start walking around, let me know, because I might forget. No, I'm going to stand. It's too many things to think about if I carry something and talk and chew gum. No. The theme of the conference is this idea of return on investment, ROI. And I want to talk really to you about the R part, the value of what we do. I think counting costs is kind of easy. Calculating value is kind of hard. And I'm not going to give you any numbers. I'm not going to give you any formulae. But what I hope to do is show you where to look for where the value is. And also to try and bring your attention to where and what you can do to improve the value you add to your projects. So I want to start with a quotation, which is a kind of common thing in presentations. A cynic is a man who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. So I encourage you not to be a cynic. But the background to this is, say, the millionaire who buys an oil painting for $10 million. And, I love your oil painting. And he says, yeah, it cost me $10 million. Yeah, but what's its value? He has no idea. And in a way, that's the way that too many people think about testing. So here's a question for you, to your boss. Why do you pay me money to do my job? Do you think you're brave enough to ask that question? Because your boss should be asking you, why am I paying you? So you need the answer, okay? So before you have the answer, you can't do ROI, okay? So let me also be kind of disappointed. I'm very disappointed to be asked to do this talk. I was asked to do a very similar talk, in fact the same title, and I said I'll use the same title. In 2002, that's before some of you were born probably, okay? And I was asked to give a talk, what is the value of testing and how can we increase it? And I'm still doing the same talk 14 years later. This is crazy. What's going on here? So I got a call from a friend of mine. This is 15 years ago. Paul, will you do a keynote at Eurostar next year? And I said, yeah, I'd love to. Yeah. What's the theme? And he said, the theme is the value of testing. And I said, yeah, fantastic. Put the phone down. Oh no, that's a terrible theme. I don't know anything about the value of testing. I thought it was awful. Okay? What a stupid theme. And then I thought, you know what? Actually, it's the best theme there is. Because if we don't know what the value of testing is, we can't make progress, can we? If we can't sell the idea of what we do, we are nowhere, okay? So it's a good theme. And I gave a fantastic talk, of course, yeah. But I'm not going to give that today, haha. I'm going to give you a different talk. I'm kind of going to say the same things, because the question's the same, the answers are kind of the same. But I'm using different language. As we move on in our industry, the technology changes, the whole ecosystem changes. I'll probably use different language than I used last year, the year before, in 2002. I also want to give you like a little health warning. I'm not here to make you feel good. Okay, that's not my goal. I'm here to try and make you think. So I'm going to say some things that you might not like. Okay, but this is important. Okay. So it's what's up here that matters. Okay, so a recent job description, Exhibit A, okay? Look at what it says. Thorough C#, good .NET, building, maintaining automation, interact with developers to anticipate future needs, ability to influence and ensure good tests. The word test has appeared. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Desirable skills, Java, mobile, an interest in photography. What's this all about? Is this a tester's job? But it's not untypical. Now, I don't know where we are, in Malaysia. I don't mean geographically, but in terms of the market hype. But in the US and Europe, I think there's a lot of hype about people changing the way they build software. And testers are kind of, can I swear? No. Can I say, oh shit? Okay, oh shit, what do the testers do? I won't swear again, okay. But what does this mean for us? Okay, it's really, really scary. And, oh my God, my boss is saying, we're going to change the way we build software. What are you going to do about it? If you can't describe the value you add, you're in big trouble. So that's why I'm trying to suggest that it's really important we understand where and how we add value. In fact, this is a job for wearable computing. It's like a really off-the-wall, probably a startup, I don't know, but I don't care. But it's kind of a new kind of world, Internet of Things, as you've just heard. Okay? So, here's my agenda. So if we're going to think about value and how we sell ourselves, we have to do a bit of marketing. So I'm going to kind of try and figure out what is our marketing message. Where do we add value? I will tell you, which you will already know. I'm not going to say anything new here. Okay, you know this stuff already, I think we'll find. What's the most valuable thing you do? I want to talk about digital, briefly. Okay. I want to talk about the patterns of software development that are emerging and are the response to digital, Internet of Things, stuff like that. And I want to introduce this idea of a new way of thinking about testing. So I'll do that towards the end. And I hope that will help you to understand where your brain adds value. So let's play marketing. Who are our customers? What do they value? What do they want from us? So let me just do some these are stupid examples, okay? So suppose we're clearing mines of a minefield, okay? Not a very happy job, I know, but suppose we believe there's 100 mines in this field ahead of us, and this army, we have to cross that field. And I'm the sapper, the tester. And I go and find the mines, and I say, okay, overnight, I've been out there, I've recovered 7 mines, I crossed the field once, so it's safe to path, but I can't tell you where the path is. Is that helpful? I ran some tests, but I can't remember what happened. And I can't tell you how to repeat those tests. What use is that? I ran 100 tests and found some bugs. I can't tell you how I ran the tests. I can't tell you where the system failed. I did a lot of work, but I can't give you information that is of any use. Okay? So it was a waste of time. And yet I have to tell you, I meet testers who tell me, oh, I'm really good, I work really hard, we work long hours, we've got a fantastic team, but our product owner says they don't know what we do. And that's a failure. Okay? So, how about this? Is a 100-page test plan better or worse than a 200-page test plan? What a stupid question. And yet, when people read 100-page test plans, what do? They, yeah, good. Yeah, good. Yeah, it weighs enough. Isn't that what... Have you ever read a 100-page test plan? Has anyone read a 100-page test plan? No one reads 100-page anything. Okay? So why do we insist on producing these things? It's not valuable. So, quantity is one thing, but it's the quality of what we offer, and the information and the relevance and the timeliness. This is where the value is. Okay? Okay, so I'm not saying comfortable things. Is anyone writing 100-page test plans? No one admits to writing 100-page test plans. Well, I'm sure some of you do, but okay, whatever. So I want to make a statement. So the value of testing. What is the value of testing? The value of testing is something like beauty. The beauty of a picture is not in the picture. It's in the mind, the eye, of the viewer, of the beholder. The value of testing is not in the tests. It's not in the tester. It's in the mind of your customer, of your stakeholder, of the person who is going to make a decision based on your information. So it's very difficult for testers to say what is of value. We know where the value is, but we can't measure it as testers. So, and I'll make some statements about a little book, okay, which I've got a few copies, I will give a few away, by the by. So the stakeholder, who is my stakeholder? Who's my customer? Well, it could be the end user or the developer, the salesman, product owner, da-di-da-di-da-di-da. If you're a developer and you test your own software, who is your stakeholder? It's you. Now, how many developers? Any developers here? Just me? Just me, okay? So I test my own code. I am the customer. So what's the point of me testing stuff I'm not interested in? It's insane, isn't it? So you could be developers or customers too. So let me ask you this. Okay, so where does the value come? Does testing change anything? What's the product of testing? I know I'm not going to get an answer because you think I'm going to trick you. Well, the product of testing is the same as goes in. It's the product that goes in. It comes out unchanged. We do not add value to the product unless we're a developer and we change the product. But most testing is done by people who are not changing code. So where is the value add? Where's the value in that process? It's in the other stuff, the information we share. Okay? So, I want to sort of talk a little bit, kind of technical or marketing speak. We need to put a better label on it than just sort of information or data or whatever. I will call it intelligence, okay? So we're all intelligent here, We are the intelligent community. The testers are the other community, okay? That's meant to get a laugh. Never mind. And it's okay if you don't laugh. It's all right. So, where am I? Let me just make some stupid statements again. You must have heard this. If you don't know where you are, a map is of no use. That makes sense? And yet we have project managers who have plans, a map of reality, and they don't know where they are on that map. They think they do. They're ticking boxes and saying sign-offs and this, that, and the other, but they don't know where they are, do they? The only people who know where the project is are the testers. And yet, we don't share the information to allow people to understand where they are. Okay? So testing provides evidence of achievement. Where are we? We are here. How do you know that? Because I have evidence. Okay? Only we can provide evidence. Everyone else can guess. Developers, we're 90% there. Systems analysts, we're 75% there. Users, we're nearly there. Testers, we are nowhere near there. Only we know where we are. So that has value. It also has power. Okay? So stakeholders need evidence of achievement to make decisions. And they want information in order to make good decisions. Do I have a bug? Well, the tester gives me information to developers. Are we ready to go live? Only the testers can provide that information. Shall we ship to the next release and move on to the next release? Only testers have that information. So I don't want to get too excited about intelligence and military intelligence. And this is an old picture. Have you seen it before? What's he doing? It used to be he's playing Nintendo, Super Mario. I don't know. I guess now he's looking for Pokemon. Okay, all right. So let's not get too serious about this, all right? But we need information to make decisions. That's what we do. We are a supplier of information. Okay, so you get this idea? The most valuable product of testing is the information you share. Okay? So, how do we increase the value of what we do? Well, we can improve the relevance of what we do. We can make it important to the people. And how do we do that? We have to ask them, what do you want from me? What decisions do you need to make? Is it a release decision? Yes, no. Or is it something you just need a picture that gives me an impression, a feeling, a sense of what I need to do next. Very often, we ran 100 tests, 78 passed first time, 23 failed, 14 we've retested, there are 3 outstanding bugs, they're medium severity, that's what we do. And most people will say, what on earth are you talking about? Is that what we produce? Does that have value? It has a value to the test team, but to our customers, they say, I have no idea what you're talking about. Let me talk to the developers. They know more than the testers. Big mistake, okay? So, we need to improve what we give to our customers, our stakeholders. Also, it's very helpful to provide that information early. And every one of you know, that we encounter problems in projects before anyone else. Before the developers, before the users, before the business analysts. We take what we do very seriously because we have to. We are extremely critical of requirements, so we find bugs in requirements. We need to be conscious that we should report problems we find as soon as we find them. So we need to do 2 things: better information and sooner. And that's it. That's all it is. So that's, it's that simple. End of talk. Goodbye. But no, there's more to it. So how do we do this? We need to be stakeholder obsessed. You need to find out who is going to use the information you provide. And let me suggest you do a remarkable thing. Ask them what they want. Have you ever thought about this? As everyone told, you need to find out what your stakeholders want before you start producing mountains of paper. They don't read mountains of paper. They just want something that is meaningful. So a stakeholder could be anybody with an interest in the outcome of testing. You have to focus on what they want and provide what they want, not what you find easy to provide. The problem we have with stakeholders is they don't always agree, do they? Marketing says this, sales say that, operations say something else. These users aren't agreeing. There's a document, but people are saying, this isn't actually what we want. When it gets delivered, we'll have an argument and then we'll sort it out. Do you not see that sometimes? We cannot test everything, so we have to do a negotiation. We can't do everything that is possible, so we have to come up with a case for doing this much and not that much. We have to come up with that case, but we have to use language that is meaningful to our stakeholders. If we go and talk about lines of code and bugs and modules and classes and functions and methods and this and that and the other to our users, they'll say, I have no idea what you're talking about. We have to use language that is simple, because they're simple people usually, and direct. It means something to them. And one last thing. Testers provide a service. We are an information provision service, which is kind of cool. That's good. But if the only information we ever report is bugs, everyone in the project will think, those guys, they find the bugs. They're fantastic. They work for the developers. They are the servants of the developers. And that's a problem, because it so undersells what we do. We are not servants. Okay? We provide a service, but we're not servants. Okay? I need to talk a bit faster because the early words are all meaningful and stuff like that, but I need to be careful. I have too many slides. I always have too many slides. So, I want to talk about digital for a moment. And it's kind of one of my hobby horses. It seems like everywhere we look, and again, I'm not sure about Malaysia, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Definitely in the UK, every project that's got money to spend, that's going somewhere, that's doing stuff, it's called digital. It's just a label, it's a buzzword, it's hype, of course it is. But that's where the money is. And where the money is where the developers are going, and where the money is where business are leading, and where the money is what you will be doing next year, potentially. So we have to pay attention. So you might argue, what the hell is digital? I don't know. There are 100 definitions, it depends who you speak to. what digital actually is. My phrase is software at the speed of marketing. What does that mean? Has anyone got a marketeer as a stakeholder, as a big customer? Marketeer? I don't believe you. I'm sure some of you have got marketeers. They are insane, aren't they? They want everything. They want it now. And they want it different tomorrow. And they'll have it again the day after that. That's marketing. Great. Just what we want. I love marketing. The problem is, a lot of chief digital officers who are being recruited are marketeers. IT budgets are being put in the hands of marketeers. These are the crazy people, okay? And yet, this is what business want. So how is IT going to respond? How are we going to deal with this? So we want to go mobile. We want to put our products, a seamless product offering across all platforms. What? All 783 Android phones? Yes, of course. Tomorrow. And Internet of Things? Yeah. Well, that'll be okay. That'll be okay. Wednesday. Internet of Things? Oh, okay. Oh, by the way, we're going DevOps. Okay. Thursday. Oh, yeah. And continuous delivery? Yeah. Well, we assume that. Oh, and by the way, all your testing is going to be automated on Friday. That's almost the way it is. I'm making a joke of it, but the pressure to move is just, that's where the money is. That's where businesses are going. They have decided they're going digital, whatever the hell that means, and they don't know. That's the problem. So it's a bit like a .com thing. It's terrifying, and you can't resist it. So there are 5 areas, okay? And you think, oh, wait a minute. Continuous delivery, DevOps, pervasive build, test, and development automation. Automation everywhere. Internet of Things, 3D printing, drones, you heard some of that a bit earlier. Shift left. We don't have test teams anymore. We're going to put the testers in with the developers. Oh, we don't need quite so many of them now. Because testing early is more effective. So we don't need a big test team now. So we'll take the smart ones and so on. We're going to do data-driven development, SMAC. Is anyone using SMAC? I don't mean the drug, but the social media analytics in the cloud. Social media, mobile analytics in the cloud. So we're not going to have requirements. We're going to put some stuff into the world, let our customers decide what we do next, take the best results and use that to drive the next round of requirements. There will no longer be requirements. Is that comfortable? Are you okay with this? Models at the heart of testing. The only way we can keep pace with this is we need to stop talking about large volumes of paperwork, if we are doing that, and we need to talk about a concentration of our thinking. We need to communicate what we do as testers in ways that are meaningful and compact. Okay? And that means models. Pictures, if you like, but means using models. So I think the whole word testing might not be popular in a few years, and it's not my term, but digital assurance, digital testing, you might see this digital assurance coming along in the next year or two as a buzzword for testing and QA. So it's not going to go away, it might just change its name. It is for real, okay? So it's not just hype, okay? So a lot of Internet of Things, hype. A lot of DevOps, hype, whatever. But the goal of digital is not hype. If you imagine Agile, driven by developers, it's taken 15 years for about a third of the industry to go Agile. 15 years. With digital, 80% of businesses have a digital strategy. And that's not 15 years. It will not be 15 years before it hits your business. Now, you might be in a business that is not going to go digital, but that's going to be a minority, I think. So, okay, is it a .com boom and bust? Is it a revolution? No, I think it's a rebranding exercise for IT. Because IT is changing so rapidly. With all this stuff you've heard about this morning, and the stuff that I've just mentioned, it's real. So signs that things are changing. Okay, growth of digital marketing. Is anyone a marketeer? Okay, none of you are. But digital marketing is going from nowhere to, in the US, I think this is, what's that? I think it's about $10 billion. From nowhere to $10 billion in 5 years. That doesn't sound too great. How about data? We all know that data is exploding. Big data has been on the agenda for a few years now, but actually, you know what? It actually is getting important now. So this year, I think we're about third or fourth from the right. We're at about 14 zettabytes, which is a 14 with 21 zeros of bytes. In 2 years' time, that will double. So the entire database of all of humanity, everything, in 2 years' time, it will be twice as big. Everything since humankind existed. The amount of data is going to double in 2 years. That's a lot of disk drives. But there's something more to it, isn't there? Who's going to use all that data? Why are we collecting all this data? Internet of Things, again, you saw earlier, you know, the growth of Internet of Things. It's on a lot of people's agenda now. It's going to be important. It's not there yet in a lot of places, but it's coming. You know it's coming. There's too much money being spent. What's the drivers for this? Well, millennials, young people, God forbid. Young people are determining what we do in IT. Smartphones everywhere. Broadband is becoming common. Disposable income, if you've got some, I don't know. These aren't my slides. But you might notice in your handouts, you've got a magazine. Did you see this? You probably sort of, yeah, just magazine, put it back in the bag, throw it away. Okay? It's Digital Malaysia. These guys want to build the digital economy for Malaysia. And I was very pleased to have met the VIPs who seem not to be here anymore. I don't know who was going to sit here, but whatever. But I met a government minister. Government are into digital in a very big way. Digital government is a really popular idea with government. They think, wow, we can be so slick and cool and fantastic and efficient. Of course, government projects are not easy to get going, but it's coming, okay? So, now, I want to say, well, what's the response to this? And the response usually is, oh, well, we've got to go continuous, DevOps, shift left, shift right, analytics, da-da-da-da, all this other good stuff, okay? Okay, a lot of that's hype, okay? I understand. So I'm not promising it, I'm not saying it's good, but watch out, you know, read into it what you will. The actual response, I think, is a notion of we've got to change the way we build software. You're going to hear that hundreds of times, okay? So one of the things that's going on is developers are saying, okay, you're the smart guys in our team. That's a mistake, but developers still get asked first, okay? It's just the way it is. We testers are trying to optimize our testing. Developers are beginning to promise that they don't need testing anymore, which is kind of a worry. Of course it is, and it's not true, and it won't happen. Of course testing is required. But their arguments are beginning to focus on a move towards automation in a very big way. Everything's automated except the testing. The testers are holding us back again. What value do they give us anyway? And then they all look blank because they can't give us an answer. We have to be able to give that answer. This is what we do for you guys. Some of it, maybe we can automate. Some of it, we can't, absolutely. But all of it comes out of our brains. We need to get that message over. So anyway, there are 3 development patterns. So I'm going to do this fairly quick because I don't want to say too much about this. There are 3 patterns. There's good old structured waterfall. You know, it's still the biggest part of the IT industry is structured, staged, waterfall, that kind of thing. Typically larger projects. But we have Agile, which is, making a big impact now. It's been going for 15 years, but everybody's now thinking, yeah, maybe we should go Agile. So with Agile, you have on the left this idea of structure, and Agile has things in common. It's very goal-based. There's a mission. We have to follow the mission. Whether we are a huge bureaucratic project or whether we're a small team which is autonomous and has the tools and skills to make progress, it's still very goal-based. There is a commonality between the 2 processes. But what's interesting is now we've got this idea of continuous. And let me tell you this, continuous is not the same as Agile. Continuous delivery, the DevOps thing, it's the Agilists who are making a lot of noise about this, but it's a very different discipline. Okay? That's what I want to argue with you. And there are commonalities. So continuous is like very short releases, maybe like we turn around deliveries to a month, 2 weeks, 1 week, 1 day. People like Google, Amazon, whatever. I think it's Google. Do they do something like 50,000 releases a day? That's 50,000 changes a day across all their environment. Is that where we're going? Probably not. I don't think many companies are going to be doing 50,000 releases a day. But you are going to be put under pressure to do releases in a month, 2 weeks, 1 week. Maybe we'll stop there. This is really high pressure stuff. We're not going to have time to do what we think we need to do. But the interesting thing is these processes, structured, agile, there are some very big commonalities. The thing about structured and continuous is if you're going to run your software process as like a machine, like a production line, you have to be incredibly disciplined. To do structured waterfall well, you have to be incredibly disciplined. There's a lot of commonality. It's high process. High process in the big, in the small, or the large. Also, the thing about a continuous delivery team, a DevOps team, is they have autonomy. They have control over what they do. So it's like Agile, but it's different from Agile. So I just want to show you this and not spend much time on it. So I've kind of came up with some characteristics of the three processes. And I just want to share this with you and then move on very quickly, but give you a sense that continuous is not a bit of Agile. It's different. It's different. So, example, structure. In a large project, you have like a managed hierarchy of people, teams, a hierarchy of people. In Agile, the team is kind of autonomous. These guys just go and do what they like. In continuous, it's like a production cell in a manufacturing plant. They have control over everything they do, but they are operating in the context of a sequence of operations where there's upstream activity, there's downstream activity, and they are part of this line of production. It's a different philosophy, a different psychology, a different process. What else? Leadership, project managed. Agile teams are a bit like, we don't know what we're going to deliver. It's a bit like guided research. We don't know what the outcome actually will be. But with continuous delivery, it's like a line management role. You're running a production line. It's about efficiency, smoothness, keeping to deadlines. And the deadline might be daily or weekly, that fast. Measurement, okay? So metrics, measurement, testers love this kind of stuff. In structured, it's kind of pervasive, but a lot of the time it's useless. We count stuff that doesn't matter. But whatever, we count things. In Agile, it's avoided. We try not to measure anything. We invent story points as a fiction in order to make people happy they're not making commitments they can't keep. And there's a whole no estimates kind of meme going around the internet now, but it's been for some years. And it's like, if someone asks you, how long will this job take? You say, absolutely, I can't do that. It's against my principles to tell you when I will finish. We've got that. But in continuous DevOps, SMAC, measurement is kind of pervasive because it's automated. We measure stuff because tools can do it. And we look at the results of those we look at those measurements and the results of what we measure and make decisions on the basis of those measurements. It's driven by data. It's not requirements driven, it could be data driven. It's a different way of doing development. And so on. You get the idea, okay? So keep your eyes open for DevOps, continuous. These are different from Agile. Okay, what about testing? So I want to talk very briefly about what testing really is. So I've you know what the answer to the question, where's the quality, where's the value of testing and how to improve? You know what the answer is, but I want to talk about some practicalities and actually give you a bit of a technique to think about this in a more careful, sensible way. Models are at the heart of testing. Whether you are working for a startup, it's 2 guys, a phone, and a few $100s, or you're working for a massive corporation. The thought process we use is the same. We build models in order to think about testing. So I want to go shout out some examples of models, okay? Anyone recognize this? What's that? Shout. I have a prize. Okay, nobody knows that's a sequence diagram. Next. Did anyone say sequence diagram? No. Okay, you have to be a bit faster. You get the idea now? What's that? Okay, about 25 people say, I haven't got 25 books. Okay, one of you can take a book. Okay. What's that? Class diagram? Class diagram? You've got data and function. These are classes. Okay. Okay. What's that? A weather map, isn't it? What is a weather forecast? Meteorologists, okay, they build fantastically sophisticated mathematical models. They use the biggest computers on the earth. They measure rainfall and wind and humidity and air pressure and stuff, all this data. They put it into the model, press a button, and out pops a weather map, and it's wrong. Isn't it? The chances of predicting tomorrow's weather, if you say tomorrow is going to be the same as today, you have a 70% chance of being correct. 70%? With the biggest supercomputers in the world, I think it's 76% or something. I don't know. It's not great. Okay. Any physicists? Not one physicist? This is Paul Dirac's equation of the electron behaving as a wave. Forget all that, okay? Or I'll test you later, you know. It's a fantastic piece of Nobel Prize-winning physics. It's a beautiful piece of mathematics, but it's a model. It's a model of the tiniest part of the universe, okay? That's all it is, a model. Anyone recognize that? Seriously, anyone recognize that? It's the London Underground. Okay, so the underground train system, most of which is not underground, it's on above ground, but a mere detail. Is it useful? Yes. Is it accurate? No, don't be silly. The Circle Line, which is the yellow kind of thing, which isn't a circle, of course. And also, they don't even go all the way around now. They start at top left at Edgware Road, go all the way around to Edgware Road, and then go back again. They don't go all the way around, you know. Okay, whatever. Is it useful? Yes, because it allows you to plan a journey from one place to another on the tube network. Okay? It's a model. It's wrong, but it's useful. Okay, so how shall I say this? Right. So what's models? So are models for physicists and forecasters and geniuses and mathematicians and supercomputers? No, they're for everyone in this room. I don't know how I'm going to do this now, but okay, well, I'm not going to worry about it. Suppose I was over there and I'm thirsty and I have to take a few steps in order to walk to pick up my bottle of water. Imagine the computation required. My brain has to understand the current configuration of the bones in my body. It has to understand the tensions in the muscles. It has to understand the obstacles in the way that I might hit. It has to understand how to send a series of electrical impulses to my muscles in a coordinated way, second by second, millisecond by millisecond, in order to walk a few steps and just take a drink. And then not to dribble water over my chin, right? How does the human brain do this? I'm not going to answer that question, okay? Right. But it obviously relies on the concept of a model. It has a model of the body, the muscles, the nerve impulses, the obstructions, the geography, the spatial awareness, all that other good stuff. Your brain is doing all that, second by second by second, continuously calibrating and calculating. How does it do that? I don't know. But it's like it uses models. What we have here is the most fantastic modeling engine. Okay? We need to make better use of it. Okay? Have I sold that idea now? That's what we do. We're selling modeling. Okay? That's what we sell. So, okay, without, again, just to undermine what I've just said, all models are wrong. Some are useful. Said by a statistician, an economist, of course. So, have you all seen The Matrix, or some of you have seen The Matrix? I want to give you a sense of how I think we think. How I think, you think. I'm going to tell you how you think. Okay? Okay? So in order to do this, you have to clear your mind. You're gonna jump over tall buildings, okay? That's what we're gonna do. Free your mind. Before you take the pill, okay? You get the idea. In order to understand what we do as testers, we have to take away all the crap, okay? We have to take away all the stuff that clutters our mind, like cleaning a house. Let's take away all the stuff that doesn't matter and just the things that really do matter, okay? Free your mind, okay? So I'm going to say, I do not care whether you document tests or not. That's logistics. It's not relevant to the thought process. I don't care whether you're going to use tools to run tests or you do it manually, you know, with your hands and your head, or whether you use some piece of magic. I don't care. I don't care whether it's agile or waterfall. I don't care whether it's government or banking or telecoms. I don't care. I don't care what technology you use. I just don't care. Now my mind is clear. Okay? All that's gone. Okay? What's left? Not much. I'm going to make this statement. All testing is exploratory. And by that I mean, what we do as testers is this. We explore sources of knowledge. Our sources of knowledge might be a requirements document. It might be people we interview. It might be the old system. It might be the new system. It's certainly my experience that I've got. It's certainly my prejudices and my biases and my lack of understanding. These are all sources of information. So when we look at testing something, we are bombarded with information. And what we do is we try and make sense of it. We try and understand. And to do that, we build models. Now, these models might be things that only exist in our head. You know, we might not write them down. We might write them down, but often we haven't time. But in order to understand what a system should do, we have to create an understanding, and I'm going to use this shorthand, modeling, to say how we do that. We create models up here. When we have a model, and we think I understand what this system should do, then we can say, in this situation, the system should do that. We can now formulate a test. We can now say what we think the system should do. We can create a test. We might be wrong. Our model might be wrong. We're human, and we have fallible sources of information. But we have the beginnings of how we think about test. So very quickly, I want to show you how it works. We explore, and then we test. Okay? So we look at our sources. We create test models, and at some point we think, I believe I know enough. I'm done reading the spec. I'm not going to interview anyone else. I've had a chat with the developers. The business analysts have told me all I know. I think I know enough. And now I'm going to move into test mode. Now I can create tests. And then I go and do some testing. And then we discover, that's not a bug, is it? It doesn't do what I thought it should do, but that's correct, isn't it? Maybe our model is wrong. And we have to go back and talk to the users. Are you sure you meant this? Is this what you really, really want? And we have another conversation, and we go back around the loop. So in the middle of all this is some judgment. I don't know how this judgment thing works, but I know we have to use it. Okay? So we have these two modes of thinking. Exploring, testing. Okay? Now I want to break it down, but I have to do this quickly because I haven't got so much time. Oh, by the way, sorry, one last thing. I think developers think this way. So if you have to go and work with a team of developers, maybe you should say, this is how I think. And they might say, that's kind of interesting. Oh, but I don't test. No, but you write code that doesn't work. Okay? So let me just give you a slightly breakdown. That's a helicopter view. This is a more detailed, but I have to do it fast. So I have my sources. It could be anything. The existing system, maybe. The new system, maybe. Requirements, designs, standards, my experience, other people, all that other good stuff. Okay? We ask questions. We inquire. We read. We interview. We try and get that information. We build models in our head, usually. When we think we understand, we can start making predictions, okay? And when we can make a prediction, we can then go back to our source and say, are you sure this is correct? Because let me give you an example. This doesn't make sense. I found a problem in your requirement. You and marketing don't agree. I've got a problem with that. I need to have an answer. The value of what we do as testers is we challenge people's thinking, either through a review and a document that needs to change, or we go and talk to people, okay, one way or another. Okay, so that's the left-hand side. Imagine we move that to the left. On the right-hand side, I've got my model. My model informs my test. I've got a picture. I've got blobs and lines. Blobs and lines, what kind of model is that? Well, it could be a state transition diagram, or a sequence diagram, or an entity model, or a flow chart, or a control flow. All models that we use are either tables or directed graphs, blobs and lines. Okay? What can we do? We can count blobs and test them. We can count lines and test them. We can look at paths and test paths. Our model informs our testing. Okay? We can apply those tests. We can run them with tools. We can run them manually. However, I don't care. We apply those tests. We get information back. Now, a tool might run the test, but only humans can interpret. Okay? So we're not done yet. Humans are involved. When we interpret, we might log bugs and so on and that. And that's not part of my model, but just so you see, there is some bit of reality in here. We find bugs, logging. And we report. We share our knowledge. We share the information we find. Sometimes we have to go back to our models and refine it. Sometimes we have to go right back to the beginning and say, you know what? We don't understand what this system should do. We're finding bugs that aren't bugs. If you put it all together, that's what you get. Okay, so it looks like a crawling insect. That wasn't intentional, it's just the way it came out. Okay, there's a paper if you want to read it, a lot more detail in the paper. Okay, so that's the picture. This is how I think our brains work. Is it a process with entry and exit criteria and deliverables, this, that? No, 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 no. It's more like a state transition diagram. Our brains move along the diagram in our thinking. I think our brains are so good, I think we can do 3, 4, 5, 6 of these things simultaneously. That's how good our brains are. How do you manage that? Well, you can't. But I think this is where we can trace our thinking. We can find where we are in our thinking. Okay, so where's the value? We challenge our sources. We ask stupid questions of our customers. Do you really mean this? Isn't this a stupid thing to do with the system? You don't say stupid, but you say, can I ask a stupid question? And then, you know what? They're thinking, uh-oh, here it comes. The nuclear missile is coming my way. The testers have found something wrong in the requirement. Value. Do it. We share our models with stakeholders. So you get in front of a whiteboard with your user and say, this is my understanding of how the system works. And you draw a picture. And the users say, no, 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 it's not like that. Rub it out. And he draws it again. And you say, fantastic, that's how it should work. Now I understand. Value. When we explain what we do, and the tester, the stakeholder says, right, I'm investing, $1 million ringgit in this project. And you're telling me the testing is going to cost 200,000 ringgit, or whatever the number is. I don't know if that's a good number or a bad number, but it's just a number, okay? Just a number. What are you going to do for me for that amount of money? Well, I'm going to produce mountains of paperwork. Oh, that's good, I like that. No, that's not the answer. What is your model used for? It's used as you can get in front of the whiteboard and say, this is how I think about testing the system. And you might have flows through an architecture. You might have a flow chart. You might have a state transition chart. And you explain, this is how we think we're going to test. But you show them a picture and tell them how you're going to quantify what you do. Well, we're going to cover all the edges on the diagram. What's an edge? Well, it's kind of the outcome of a decision. Oh, I can get that. Oh, so you're going to test all the decisions that my people are going to make in the business? Yeah. And the decisions that the tool is going to make for you. Oh, I get it. I like that. Okay, I'll pay the 200,000 quid. Or ring it, or whatever it is. Okay? You get the idea. We share our models, we use them as the basis of a good conversation. We report progress in the context of those models. So you know what, 3 months ago, when I said I wanted 200,000 ring it off you, oh yeah. When I showed you the model, yeah, well let me show you where our tests have been. And let me show you a picture of where all the activities have been. And on that same picture, I can show you where all the bugs were found. Wouldn't that be cool? Isn't that what we want from our test tools? We want the tools to help us to visualize, to see what we've done. We don't just want tables of data. Tables of data are fantastic. They're great for accountants, but they are not helpful to understand the map, the territory. We need a picture. We need to share our models and hang the information we produce as testers off that model to make it real. Okay? So, what are the disciplines that come with digital? Shift left, test early. Continuous delivery, test early, test often. SMAC, test analytics. Do you know what? We continue testing into production. Okay? If you're invited to get involved in a digital project, say, okay, this is what I'm going to be helping you to do. The consultants that you may meet, and there may be some in the room, we've been saying test early, test often for 30 years. And digital, continuous delivery, DevOps, SMAC, test analytics, these things are now making it possible to do what we've been saying was good 30 years ago. It's that important, okay? So, okay, get involved in a digital project, but you'll have to change a bit, I suspect, okay? So I'm not saying everyone's going to have to change, okay? But over the course of the next 10 years, I think most people will be affected by these things. So, okay, I'm just about done now, but I want to give you an example of how you have to change the way you think. The phase after development is not testing, it's rework. Isn't it? Isn't that what we do? We don't do the rework, we do the testing, sure, but we find opportunities to develop for the developers to fix problems. The cost of testing is not usually the cost of testing, it's the cost of the flipping rework the developers have brought upon themselves. Why is testing taking so long? It's not testing, it's rework. That's what it is. And this is the argument. We're bringing value by saying where the rework is. It's the developers that are costing you money because they didn't look at the requirements carefully and they're not being careful enough, let's say. And the tester's value is exposing these horrible things. I'm sorry, but we give bad news, okay? But if you say testing is the phase after rework, after development, you get the blame. You are the cost. You are the delay. So we have to use a different language, okay, to make our case. We don't own testing, okay? Everybody owns testing. Everybody tests. So I think I've said this. So my argument is not necessarily the test phase should not exist. We have to think in a different way. We have to think about how we think and use that to identify the activities that bring real value. We should not be in competition with developers. It's not developers write code, testers test. No, it's the same business. Develop and test is one business, not two. So we have to make our contribution visible and valuable, okay? It's kind of as simple as that. So we're not in competition and we're not a servant and we don't rescue people. We're just part of the team, okay? So in order to do that, the shift left, shift right, DevOps, whatever, I think we need to think a bit more carefully about how we do our job and how we deliver value. And so the new model idea, I think, might help you to do that. Thank you. I've finished on time as well.